Welcome into a very special edition of Tough League Game Day. Normally on Game Day, we break down the games and who's predicting who to win. However, this time around, it's the off season. And what that means is that we have a sick edition of the show for you. We're going to break down Tough League players with their NFL counterparts. Tough League media team put a lot of effort into this, breaking down size, athleticism, trash talkers, everything that you could possibly think of when into these comparisons. Let's go. First up on the list, we have quarterback of the Phantoms, Jake Purdy, and we're comparing him to Aaron Rodgers. Both have good footwork in the pocket. They're both elusive quarterbacks who are both consistently on the top of their game. Future Hall of Famer and future Tough Club member, able to throw the ball downfield with pinpoint accuracy. Next up, we have wide receiver of the Mountain Lions, Shelton Ray and Darren Sproles. Smaller stature and extremely powerful. Excellent hands, catching a lot of short-range passes with the ability to take it to the house at any given moment. If Tough Six had running backs, this comparison would not be able to be any more perfect. Our next comparison is Jonathan Caker of the Swordfish and Alex Smith of the Kansas City Chiefs. Both athletic quarterbacks with the ability to manage their game and their team. Strong arm with methodical passing, and they both rarely make mistakes. The only thing left for Alex Smith to do is win a championship. And with that, let's talk about another NFL quarterback that hasn't won a championship when his Tough League counterpart has, and that's Matthew Stafford of the Lions, and we're comparing him to Billy Hudson of the Tide. The abilities of Stafford are synonymous with those of Hudson. Both put up major stats and have the ability to fake out defenders with the pump fake. Not to mention the sidearm accuracy of both quarterbacks is insane. One of the most amazing wide receiver duos in Tough League is that of John Austin and Derek Wallace of the Phantoms. We're going to go ahead and compare them to the 2014 version of Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb of the Packers. Cobb and Jordy were excellent outlets for Rodgers back in 2014. Together in 16 games, they put up 189 receptions. If you were to double Austin and Wallace's output, they would have been better. Both duos are insanely fast, and Wallace working the underneath routes like Cobb, and Austin on the outside like Jordy. This comparison cannot get any better. Next up, we have King James Calhoun of the Tide. We're matching him up with Richard Sherman from the Seahawks. Calhoun was a key player on offense for the Tide, but we are using his defensive numbers here. Calhoun, like Sherman, is a ball hawk with the ability to read the play and undercut the route to get the interception. Very few players do it as well as Calhoun in Tough and Sherman in the NFL. Another Swordfish player makes our list in Matt Miller. We're comparing him to Hines Ward. Ward was a failsafe for Big Ben throughout his Steelers career. With great hands and big playability, both of these receivers are tops in their respective divisions. If you give Miller 16 games, his stats would have been 100 catches for over 1,400 yards. If you look at Ward's 2002 season, it was 112 catches for over 1,300 yards. Very comparable. Next up, we're talking a little tight end action. Dash Crutchley of the Ducks and Tony Gonzalez, previously of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, there is no tight end position in Tough Six, but if there was, Crutchley would be nailing it. Both players are great athletes with some serious size to their game. Crutchley not only has the size to compare, but the stats as well, with over 500 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. This next comparison had us thinking quite a bit, but a veteran of Tough League, AJ Mason of the Bombers, is being compared to Deion Sanders. Mason is a veteran of Tough League and is a beast on both sides of the ball, which is something that Sanders could do with ease. Both could be leaders on their teams and truly know what it means to be tops in the league season after season. Coming up next, find out which receiver we compared to Tampa Bay speedster Deshaun Jackson.
Hi, this message for owner of Tough League. Hope you're doing well. I definitely think you guys should bring it down to San Diego, and I think you could take this place over by storm.
Hey, I just wanted to reach out and let you know there's triple the talent down here in San Diego. We were waiting for Tough League to make it down here, so if you're looking for anybody to help you branch out.
What you're doing in Los Angeles is cool. No joke. Real talk. San Diego is where it's at. You You're waking the sleeping giant down here.
San Diego get a shot.
Hey man, come on down to San Diego.
Doing big things
You
up
want to talk about the biggest rivalry in
Bring us down to San Diego. Come to San Diego.
Must bring Tough League to San Diego.
And we're back. Deshaun Jackson is being compared to Polar's receiver Adrian Tate. At 17.5 yards per catch, Tate is best compared to Jackson. Both with game-breaking speed and excellent hands, when these receivers get the ball in their hands, it is something special and is usually for chunk yardage or a touchdown. Our next comparison on the list is that of Eric Luna of the Vikings and Stephon Diggs of the Vikings. Diggs is currently leading the NFL in yards and is second in touchdowns and top 10 in receptions. He is the current version of Eric Luna. Luna topped every category for Spartan receivers last season and, like Diggs, is a smaller receiver with high athletic ability. Next up, we have another small pair of receivers in Jason Overstreet and Antonio Brown. Both of these players are living, breathing highlight reels. Excessive speed and ability to go deep or work underneath routes, both players look like they dip their hands and stick them before every game. Like Brown, Overstreet is one of the reasons I love watching Tough League. Speaking of human highlight reels, our next comparison is just that. Lester Thomas of the Tide and Odell Beckham Jr. Not enough can be said about these two players. Not only can they put up stats, they both have the skills to high point the ball and come down with it in almost any contested situation. Thomas is also a key cornerback, and if Beckham was allowed to play both ways, I can see him being very similar in that situation as well. Cheetahs receiver Landon Moss and Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. This is getting too easy with these two players. The comparisons are uncanny with their size, freakish athleticism, and dependability in all facets of the offense. They can do it all and help to make their quarterbacks look good on a week-to-week basis. Next up, we have Pegasus player Brandon Blunden. Now we're going to compare Blunden to Khalil Mack. Monsters among men, these two know what it takes to be at the top of the pass rush game. Blunden is number 3 in all-time single-season sacks. He can be a dominant force, wreaking havoc in the backfield in every game. Mack is a beast in his own right, and the only difference here is that Mack is just getting started and Blunden is in the prime of his tough career. Next up, we have the trash-talking twins, Antonio Bray of the Goonies and Jarvis Landry of the Dolphins. Both smaller receivers, but their size is not indicative of their game or their mouth. Speedy receivers who can catch a truckload of passes, these two players are never short of words, making sure their teammates get fired up and letting the defense know when they are on the field. Next up, we have the story of two insane rushers, Hunter Garner of the Blue Fire and Von Miller of the Denver Broncos. Miller is one of the smaller pass rushers in the league, but that does not stop him from being one of the best to ever do it. Garner is currently the best to ever do it and has no plans on slowing down anytime soon. With more interconference games coming next season, we hope to see Garner versus Rivas in the same game. The last two players on the list are two cornerbacks from the Pioneers. Tyreen Crape is being compared to the talented Josh Norman. Talented ballers at the top of their game, these two are both some serious trash-talking cornerbacks. Neither takes it too far, however, and they have respect for the game and the other team. Crape, like Norman, can contest passes and bring down interceptions. Not to mention he can take those picks back the distance. And last but certainly not least, we have Josh Galindo being compared with that of Brett Grimes. Grimes is a smaller cornerback that is as competitive as he is talented. Galindo is no different, and not only is he a good comparison to Grimes at defensive back, you could also compare Galindo to AJ Green for receiving. Green is an amazing catch artist who is pulling in anything near him. Galindo again is no different. He is an insane, dependable receiver for whichever quarterback he decides to play with. Stay tuned for the Tuesday release of Tough Total Access. I'm your host, Stephen Dolan, and that will do it for another edition of Game Day.